If we take our database, My Clients Tables, and open up the Clients Tables in Design View, we can explore the field property size. Now, the field property size is actually only there when you have a short text field, we can see field size there, and a numeric field. Now, we have no numeric field, but we can soon add one, client subsids, and change that to a number field. And you can see then that has a field size. So let's explore the short text field size first. Now, the short text field size says 255. This is actually the maximum number of characters the field will allow. Now, it is actually the maximum number of characters that the short text type field will allow, but you don't need to allow the maximum. For example, the zip is not going to be 255 characters long, so to stop error inputting, really, we're going to reduce that right down to 10. So then the maximum number of characters that can be typed in that field is 10. Anybody tries to type an 11th character, it will not enter the field. So you could do exactly the same for any of the other short text fields, but obviously you need to make sure you don't restrict them so short that they can't enter the data. So what's the maximum length of a country name? Well, 255 is definitely too large. Let's certainly go down to 50. Longest town, let's go down to 100. Dress line 2, well, that could be quite long if they put effectively a second, a third, and a fourth line in there, so we'll leave that as 255. Dress line 1, the same. Client name, well, nobody's company name's that long. Let's come down to 100. And that's it for our short text. What you will notice is that you cannot restrict the length of a long text field. There is no size option here. So it's only a short text field. The default and maximum is 255, but you can restrict that to make it more sensible, reduce the chance of mass informed data entry. So make sure you only restrict down to a sensible size though. Don't go too small. Otherwise you'll end up with people complaining, I can't enter this into the field because the field has been restricted. So the field size on a short text field restricts the number of characters that can be actually typed in and therefore entered into that field. Now, on a numeric field, it's not quite the same. Although it says field size, there is a drop list of options, and those options are different types and sizes of number. You'll notice that the default is long integer. So by default, on a numeric field in Access, you can only enter whole numbers. Now, a long integer gives you quite a wide range, and from a negative value to a positive value as well. Approximately minus 2 billion to plus 2 billion. So that's quite a scope. Now you can reduce that down to integer, which gives you less of a range, approximately 32,000 to minus 32,000, or a byte, in which case you can only put a single digit in, or we have single, double, and decimal. Now replication ID is only used if your database is going to be replicated, so we'll ignore that as an option. The others are important though, if you want to be able to enter decimal places, either single, double, or decimal. If you leave the option as long integer, or byte, you'll only ever be able to enter whole numbers. And depending on which of these you choose, it will depend on the range of the whole number that you can add. The byte is anything from 0 to 255, an integer is approximately 32,000, a long integer is approximately 2 billion. It's not actually a numeric restriction, it's a physical memory size restriction, hence the word byte. Integer is 4 bytes and long integer is 8 bytes. If you know your fields are not likely to ever hold large numbers, it's worth reducing the field size down to an integer or a single if you want decimal places, as less memory space will then be allocated for that field, and therefore the database will be slightly smaller. When you're talking about a single record, it's not a massive difference from 8 bytes to 4 bytes. But if you're talking about hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of records, those 4 bytes that you're saving can add up to quite a sizable saving in memory space. So you need to just put a little bit of thought into a number. You cannot just choose number and assume it's going to work for you. You need to decide, well, is long integer what I'm after, or am I happier with a smaller integer value, or do I need to enter decimal places, in which case I'm looking at single, double, or decimal. And my client subsids are going to be whole numbers, but they're not going to be in the millions, so I'm going to just choose integer. So that's the field size option, only available and only required on a short text field and a numeric field. On a short text field, it controls the number of physical characters that can be typed in. On the numeric field, it controls the memory size available to that character, to those numbers, but also whether the numbers are whole numbers or with decimal places.